All right. 93, 93, 93. Do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. So I just wanted to make sure everybody can hear me. So y'all let me know if the audio is good and if the visuals are good. And we can go ahead and get started. We go ahead and light this. What's up, Immortal72? What's up, Mary? Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? Can everybody see me? Is there any lag or are we having any audio or visual issues? I just want to establish that before we get started. All right. You see, we back in HD. What's up, Mon293? We back in HD. You see, I'm back using the Shure mic, so we back in full power. So it was just a matter of time. So everything should be high quality. Everything should be up to standards. You got the ND filter. Got the big iPhone, so everything should be smooth. So yeah, I apologize for the last video. The audio wasn't right. The visuals wasn't right. So I had to make sure everything was cool. So I took a couple days, make sure everything was right, so we can come back in full power. So we shouldn't have anything to worry about moving forward. So that's why, I don't even have any background music right now or anything. Everything is just silent. Well, you probably hear like a little background noise, but nothing too crazy. So again, we're not gonna take up too much time here. Again, we're gonna just talk about real shit as usual. I believe I titled this, "You Are a Energy Vortex. What type of spirits do you choose to summon?" And of course, y'all know me, we mostly deal with infernal spirits. We deal with necro spirits, communicate with the dead, the forbidden arts, and all things that are non-mainstream. So this is what we're going to do right now. I'm going to light one of these Palo sticks, and we'll see what the channel brings out. So I'm going to set the microphone down, and I'm going to go ahead and set these flames, and we'll get straight to it. Alright, so as y'all know, it's only right to open up the portals so the spirit can come through. It's only right. The spirit comes through all the elements: fire element, water element, air element, earth element. The spirit is what connects all of the elements together. So you can say each element has its own variations of spirits and herbs, planets. The law of correspondence. There's really no limit to what you want to do. It's all about personal. I don't really want to say personal, more so what are you already geared towards? Essentially, what is your archetype? If we want to make it even more simple, what is your archetype? Your archetype will determine essentially your path of divination? Are you more of a reader, like a oracle, somebody who can read signs and cards and, like tarot readers and interpreters, predictors? Some people prefer pendulums. Some people prefer divination rods. It's all about preference, what works. And of course, we're going to inhale the spirits, a little vape, nothing too crazy. What's up, Satori 93? Haven't seen you in the white too much? Nah, not too much. Yeah, normally, I'm in the darker colors, but, you know, I wanted to make sure I came with a new energy. So I decided to be clean today. A little bit clean, just keep it fresh. Keep it simple. Mine is a siren, the dark feminine. There you go. Definitely the sirens, definitely, that energy of Medusa, that energy of the wicked mermaid. I don't really want to call it wicked, it's just that what we would call in modern times toxic. A lot of our energy is naturally toxic. It's not toxic like we have come to believe it, because that like poisonous. But in a way it is. But it's natural. It's not necessarily because anybody is doing something. Like, for example, a snake is poisonous. A scorpion is poisonous. You have poisonous animals and insects. So it's more of a defense mechanism. So there are certain, you can say, attributes from the masculine, from the feminine, that we may view as toxic, but it is a part of the equation, meaning in all order there must be chaos. There must be an imbalance to cause a balance. So essentially our toxicity, we have to turn it into medicine. The poison must become medicine. We all have the potential to be toxic. We all have the potential to go deep into our shadows and lose our sense of self. But then we can go into our depths and gain a new sense of self as well. Right? So again, let me get to this. We can do these things because we are a energy vortex. What that means is we all are miniature universes, meaning we are connected to every sense of what we would call life. So we come into this world already having a connection with the stars. We come into this world already having a connection with the earth. We already come into the world with access to magic, which is what we will call our shadow, our anima, our animus. That is our magical self. So anything magical is coming from your anima or your animus. For women, it's the animus. For men, it's the anima. So we have to build our connection with what we call the shadow. This is our alternative ego or our alter ego. We have our ego, then we have our alter ego. The more we embody our alter ego, the more magical we become. Because we know our ego is forged from essentially what works, how we're able to survive. It's not based on who we actually are and how we think. We tend to conserve a lot of elements of ourself to navigate what we call the mainstream, to go to the job and make the money and be civilized people. But as we know, the chaos exists. Every night, Ra has to go into the underworld to battle Apep. The same thing happens to us. Every time we sleep, we dream. Whether we remember the dream or not, it still occurs. And the purpose of us dreaming, because if we were to stop dreaming, we would actually die. Dreaming is a necessary part of life. It's not optional. We don't dream because, some days are more magnified or amplified than others. Some days are more traumatic. No, we dream because it is a necessary process that your brain has to navigate through. Like your brain has to figure out certain things that the conscious mind doesn't always have an answer to. So the things we have to process that the conscious mind doesn't necessarily have an instant access or an instant answer to, it has to go into the subconscious, it has to go into the unconscious. So once it starts going into the deeper chambers of your consciousness, the more raw elements of yourself begin to materialize. What that manifests is sometimes nightmares, sometimes darker visions, and sometimes what we call interactions with the anima or the animus, which isn't always something that is pleasant or enjoyable. Because the real you, as we will call the inner child or the baby Jesus, the baby Christ, the pure aspect of you, this is a reason why the story of the development of Jesus is not in the Bible. Essentially, you start to learn about him in his perfected state right before death. Because if we was to go through the rites of passage and the trials of initiation, we would see that it's something that anybody could do. It's not something that's reserved for a certain type of person. But in a sense, you already are a certain type of person if you even find things like this important, because as we see, most people don't. Most people are occupied with, you can say, the earth element. They're not really thinking about the fire element other than their God, or the water element other than their emotions, or their air element other than their words. But we know the elements are multi-dimensional, because fire represents desire, but not just human desire, but also the desire of the soul, as we would call our purpose, what we would call our mission. So we tap into the fire to get back to the source of things. The water goes deeper than emotion. It goes into the intuition. So when we want to become more intuitive, we take a journey into the waters. When we want to learn, essentially, the effect our blood has on our consciousness, because we know we are majority water, and water can be programmed. Blood, your DNA, all these things can be programmed, and they are being programmed. It's just not being programmed by your conscious mind. It's being programmed by the subconscious and the unconscious mind. You can say along with the superconscious as well. So these are aspects of the mind that we don't necessarily be tapped into 24/7. You may only access the unconscious mind when you're asleep, when your conscious mind is asleep. So you can say majority of the time you are not aware of what's going on a superconscious level or a unconscious level, and we may have an idea of what's going on a subconscious level because we are interacting and dealing with our emotions. But most of the time people deal with emotions based off of how people are responding to them, not necessarily how they feel without the influence of other people. Like, how do you feel waking up every morning before you even interact with other people? What mood were you in when you became conscious? Because the mood is not always the same. It depends on your nightly journey. It depends on what your dreams were. It has nothing to do with what essentially happened when you were conscious. So you can be waking up feeling some type of way and it don't have anything to do with what occurred to you consciously. It can be strictly subconscious or unconscious. And when you take a little time to, you can say, just dive into the essence of that feeling and what possibly may be the cause of that, then it puts you in a mind state or a mindset that you have to be successful in navigating your day. Because we know every day brings challenges, but the majority of the challenges are us figuring out why we feel the way we feel, which requires us to go beyond emotion. We have to go into what people call emotional intelligence, which is basically your intuition. You have to learn the ways of your intuition. How does your intuition work? Because your intuition is able to communicate to you. As we know, our intuition is able to communicate messages to us. Your intuition may tell you not to go somewhere, or your intuition may tell you to go somewhere. So intuition essentially is like a guide. So the more you speak the language of your intuition, or as we call it, the subconscious, it can be beneficial to you because you are getting to know different aspects of yourself. Now, everything doesn't strictly have to be conscious. It can be subconscious, and that's essentially what divination is. So instead of you making a logical decision with your conscious mind, you say, okay, let me go grab the tarot cards. Let me go roll the dice. Let me go do some form of divination to gain an answer instead of trying to think my way into a solution. Because we have been taught to try to think our way into solutions, but the solution isn't always something that can be thought of because you are limited to what you know. To go beyond what you know, to go into more primitive aspects of your mind, this is what we call the subconscious. So we begin to develop our intuition as a guide, which takes us into higher chambers, more sensitive chambers of the conscious mind. And that's when we go into the unconscious, which we call the Akashic records, which you can communicate with those living and those dead. You can communicate with the past, present, or future. All these things become accessible to you via the unconscious mind. But like we say, most of the time, the only time you access the unconscious is when your conscious mind is completely paused. You can say the pause button is hit because you're not technically asleep. Your conscious mind is just paused. So if majority of the time your unconscious mind is activated, your conscious mind is not activated, these two levels of consciousness don't really interact. So it becomes a skill, you can say. Dreaming becomes a skill. Dreaming may have been something we did naturally as children and even young adults, but as we get older, it becomes a skill. So you don't just dream because you lay in bed and you close your eyes and you rest. Now you have to create things like dream altars. Now you have to create an environment which allows you to dream. Now you can no longer depend on, oh, it's just going to happen because it happens. Nah, now it has to be mathematical and strategic. It's the same thing with intuition. The further we get away from the source, the more mathematical and strategic we have to become when it comes to working with spirit. So now you're not just really winging it with spirit. Now it has to be strategic. Essentially, now you have to know what you're doing. At some point, you may start off, let's just say, doing chaos magic, just seeing what happens, just throwing anything together and seeing what effect it causes. But eventually, the chaos must become orderly. And when you get to a level where you want the chaos to become orderly, you will have to then learn, okay, I probably shouldn't mix Mars in this potion. I should probably keep Mars out of this, right? I should probably stick to more feminine energies instead of trying to mix in all these fireballs. So now you have to be strategic in how you move. Now you begin to essentially what we call play chess. You start to play chess with life because you have to be strategic with spirit, because spirit is very strategic. Everything about consciousness is strategic. It allows you to go into the depths of yourself. But now you have to rediscover and re-identify who you are, because you be seeing things and experiencing things that may change you, that may alter your view and vision of things. So you may start off one way, but then you change due to something that may have happened on a conscious level or also a unconscious level. You can say path working. When we're doing spiritual work, or what we call shadow work, that allows us to change or have a permanent change instead of a temporary change. What most people do, they have temporary changes. They don't have permanent change, because a permanent change requires you to rewrite your DNA. In order to rewrite your DNA, that's something you have to do on an unconscious level. So that is a strategic, magical act you have to introduce into your consciousness. And just like the movie Inception, it's like you plant a seed and it has to go through levels. And each level that it goes through, there's a certain activity you must do in order for it to continue its journey. That's essentially what we call manifestation. Every plane or every level this desire or this intention has to go through, there are certain activities it has to undergo, or certain tests it must pass in order for it to get to the next level. And that determines whether you really want something or if it's just something that's temporary. You can say some desires are permanent, some desires are temporary. Some emotions are permanent, some emotions are temporary. Some thoughts are permanent, some thoughts are temporary. This is essentially what I'm getting at here. You begin to study yourself and see what's permanent. It ain't about what's temporary, what's happening because of it's a certain situation going on with a certain person. You begin to learn and study yourself. Like, okay, what do I feel when it don't have nothing to do with nobody else? How do I just feel when it's just me? When I'm solitary? When I'm unaffected by the actions and thoughts and feelings of others? What is my default state? What are my default thoughts when I'm not under the influence of other people's thoughts and other people's feelings and other people's philosophies? What is my default state? What are my default desires when I'm not under the influence of everybody else's desires? When I detach myself from everybody else's vortex and I begin to study my own energy vortex signature, what am I viewing? What are the permanent keys or the song of my particular signature? What is my signature song? What is my signature dance? What is my signature art? What is my signature talent? Whatever it may be. That's essentially what you're studying when you want to go to subconscious and unconscious levels. You want to study your signature. You want to study what makes you you. You want to study the things that you inherit from your ancestors. The things, again, that you can't view with your physical eyes. You got to go into the third eye. You got to go into the consciousness that you have to think in reverse to access. As we know, the law of reversal. You have to access the law of reversal to even understand these things. Why? Well, today was the 23rd day. If we think Kabbalistically, what is the 23rd path of the Kabbalah? Oh, that's right. The 23rd path is Mem. Mem is the hanged man. The hanged man is Neptune. Neptune is the unconscious mind. So that's why I'm talking about this, because we are currently traveling through the 23rd path. Mem represents the death state. That's why it represents the hanged man. When we think about the hanged man, we think about, the hanging Christ. What does the energy of Mem represent? It represents death, the death state. Meaning when we are dreaming, we appear to be dead. If somebody was looking at you when you were sleeping, you will appear to be dead. Or essentially what we would call unconscious, right? So when we're talking about the unconscious mind, or in other words, the delta state, because we have the brain wave states, you got beta waves, alpha waves, theta waves. Then you have delta waves, which is like between 1 and 4. Well, not 1, actually 0 and 4. These are the lowest sound waves. These are inaudible sounds, because we can't even hear anything below 20 hertz. The human ear cannot hear anything below 20 hertz, but obviously we know sound exists below 20 hertz. We just can't hear it. Dogs and things, animals and insects, these are things that they can tune into, but we can't hear it. So delta brain waves is the equivalent to breathing 4 times a minute, taking 4 full breaths every minute. As we know, this is not how normal people breathe. So most people are not in delta state, because you will have to breathe continuously on that level to put yourself in delta state. As we know, most of us are in beta brain waves. Everybody's on the edge of their seat, rushing. Basically the energy of Mercury. Everybody just on the hustle, on the grind, right? They're, problem solving. Most of the time when you're working, you're problem solving, right? You're in your logical brain. You're in your logical mind. Because below that will be alpha. Alpha, you're more relaxed. You're more meditative. Which we call the flow. When you're more so in the flow, when you're doing things more so from muscle memory, and you can just get into the flow of doing what you're doing. Essentially, you can do what you do without thinking. If you can do something without thinking because you're just so used to doing it, you get into the flow. That's more so you getting into alpha brain waves. Below alpha, you have theta brain waves. Now, theta is more so when you begin to have visions. That's like a deeper meditation. Now, this is more like astral travel. Now you're able to experience things from the perspective outside of the body. Now you're not just limited to, where you are in the physical space. Now you can be able to see yourself from different points of view or different angles. We call this suspended animation. It's a state of suspended animation. And then under theta brain waves, that's when we go into delta brain waves. That's what we call our beauty sleep. When your sleep is able to beautify you, in order for your sleep to beautify you, you have to get into delta brain waves, which is not easy to do. But it is a real thing, and that's why they call it beauty sleep. You can beautify yourself if you are able to go into those delta brain waves, but it is a skill. It's not something you just do naturally by laying in your bed and just going to sleep. This is through intentional breath work. When you are intentionally doing breath work, you are entering certain brain states and having certain experiences. It has to be consciously done. Anything you're just throwing to chance is not going to work out the way that you expect. That's if you want the chaos to become order. The first thing, it always starts with breath control, which we call pranayama, which is being able to manipulate the energy within your own aura. So the first thing, before you start manipulating the elements of anything else, you learn how to manipulate your breathing, which then manipulates your energy centers. You have major chakras and you have minor chakras. Your major and your minor chakras are based on your breathing, your breath. Because if you're breathing correctly, it's keeping everything cleansed. If you're not breathing correctly, things become polluted. And that's essentially what we call toxic. So we can become toxic just by not breathing properly. It don't have nothing to do with how a person talk or your actions and all the things we associate with toxicity. It first starts with your aura. You could have a toxic aura if you're not breathing properly, if you're not practicing pranayama. That's the foundation. Your foundation must be pranayama, breath control. Once you have breath control, that leads into body control. Now you can control your body. Control your breathing, which then allows you to control your body. Now you can control your mind. Now you can gain that body-mind connection because you started with controlling your breath, slowing your breathing down. Because that's what puts us in beta brainwaves. When we're essentially going through the day, normally we're breathing rapidly. We are breathing rapidly. That's what puts us in beta brainwaves. If we begin to slow down our breathing, then we will go into different brainwaves, and we would have a completely different experience with life. The experiences we have in life is based on the brainwave state that we are in, which is based on our breathing. If you want to have a more profound spiritual experience here, you have to slow down your breathing and control your breath, which allows you to control your body. Then your mind will be easily controlled. You can get out of the monkey mind. All right? So, again, we're not really trying to go too deep into these aspects. This is why we must dream. We have to dream. It's not optional. So if we have to dream, we want to prepare ourselves properly to get into the dream state. This is what dream yoga is. Dream yoga is the yoga or the practice and the science of dreaming. This requires skill. We don't think of it this way because dreaming is like more right-brained. It is more intuitive. It's more imaginative. It's more creative. You're using those aspects of the brain, those aspects of the mind. But again, as you become more integrated into the matrix, which we are, we're using AI and everything now. So we have to develop the skill of doing more primitive, natural things. It becomes a skill set. Never leave it up to chance. Never think you're just gonna dream because you are tired or you expect to. Everything must be planned out ahead of time, meaning you must know where you're going before you even lay in the bed. That's why it's good to have a 20-minute meditation before you go to sleep and a 20-minute meditation after you wake up, because you're going to need 20 minutes to reflect on anything you may have been dreaming, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking. You need at least 20 minutes to gather yourself. Before you go out into the world and deal with all these other people, you need to give yourself at least 20 minutes to gather your own energies and make sure you are collecting your soul shards, and instead of them being scattered everywhere, because emotions is everywhere and thoughts is everywhere and desires is everywhere. You want everything to be all in alignment. So you just give yourself 20 minutes before you even open your eyes and get out the bed and start thinking about what you're going to do for the day. If you give yourself those 20 minutes and like, okay, let me navigate and shape my world and my actions based off of how I feel and what I'm thinking. I'm going to move off of this energy instead of trying to create something that's not there. You can't go into the world high powered and high charged if you going through something subconsciously and unconsciously. Once you're able to clear out that karma, now the energy comes back naturally. Because a lot of us go through phases where we have high energy, low energy, high energy, low energy. And it don't be anything we are doing physically, is or just psychic residue. So the same way we hit the gym, the same way we go to the gym, the same way we work out, we must hit that psychic gym, right? Deal with our astral temple, building your astral temple, working on your psychic defenses. Because we're not just worried about people out here, people and manipulation, deception. We know there's beings and elements, elementals and all type of things on multiple levels. It's not just human beings. So we keep our defenses on point. The same way you say you probably should stay strapped out here in the real world. Well, you should probably stay strapped in the astral plane as well. It's just a good idea to keep your spiritual defenses in order. But it's the same thing with chess. Chess is not all about offense, it's also about defense. You can't just be all offense and you can't just be all defense. You have to mix offense with defense. And then you have to do so in a strategic manner, and you have to plan all the way to the end. You got to be thinking about the end before you even start. So essentially, in those 20 minutes of you planning your day should be planned all the way out to the end before you even get out of the bed. If you're able to plan everything before you even get out of bed, you can move more strategically, because now you're not just going with the flow. Now you are, okay, I'm doing everything based off of my default energy at this particular time. So if I want to manipulate the energy or change it into something else, I know exactly how to do that, because I know what my starting point is. I know what my reference point. Every morning you're just seeking a reference point. What is my reference point? Essentially, where am I in the tarot? You may be in the 7 of Cups. You may be in the 5 of Wands. You may be in the 2 of Discs. Who the fuck knows where you've been navigating and traveling, but you just need a point of reference. And from that point of reference, you know where you are on the tree of life. So you know what work to be done. Like, okay, well, I'm in the 2s. So that means the 1 is right over there. The 3 is right over there. The 4 is right over there. I have a couple options here from where I am. If I'm trying to get to this particular destination, I should probably take this path. Path working, shadow work, path working. Once I have a reference point, I know what paths I need to take to get to where I'm trying to get to instead of trying to figure it out from the nothingness. All right? Yeah, the video on this playlist called the number 23. Yeah, I still got the videos are still private, but they will be unlocked soon. There's no reason for me to keep the shit private at this point, so the videos definitely will be made available soon. Cause I'm like, I'm not about to be going through this war with YouTube. We done been there, done that. We've been doing this shit for way too long. I'm like, I just put the goddamn videos up. I doubt that they're even caring about this channel at this point. That's why I really wanted to fall back. I'm like, let the channel essentially die. So when I put the videos out, YouTube ain't even worried about anything I'm even doing. So from death, I resurrect. That's what it is, right? This is the energy of death. From death, we resurrect. So all the videos will be made available soon. I just gotta make. It's not hard. I want to back everything up, but I'm like, I'm not about to do all that. If the content is supposed to be here, it's supposed to be here. I feel like we have been fucking spiritually protected. This channel probably should have been deleted a long time ago. It's been some crazy stuff, but I'm like, we've been able to navigate everything, so I don't think it would change now. So we're more refined, we're more grown up. We see where we came from. We came from madness, right? We came from chaos, right? We see where we came from. We see where we are now. So as long as we keep the chaos where it's supposed to be, we shouldn't have any issues. So I shouldn't have any issue with releasing those videos and just allowing y'all to enjoy those vibes, those journeys, and everybody have. Essentially, you got the whole universe. It may be a particular video, you just like the vibes. It may not be me, it may be the atmosphere, it may be the information. You just like certain energies, certain vibes, and this channel allows you to go to as many as you want. Some unique experiences, right? So they all there, everything is documented. So it shouldn't be no reason why the videos, I would say look forward to them next week or so. You know, I'll give y'all a gift for the new year. So we can go back in time and activate the law of reversal. Right? So we pretty much wrap it up right there. That was just a late night lesson. I know we all, have things to do in the morning. It's about to be 12 a.m. over here on the West Coast. It's after 3 a.m. on the East Coast. So we'll wrap it up. Everything is set up now, as you see, so I should be able to see y'all a lot more often. As you see, we're going through software now. We're not just going through YouTube, so see, everything is now professional. Everything should be high quality and upstream, so I will be seeing y'all a lot more often, get a lot more consistent again. We're going to release the older videos, so let y'all just spaz out on all that information you're not going to find nowhere else, so that shouldn't be an issue. So I'll be releasing that slowly, piece by piece. Again, we got it's so much content, it's ridiculous. That's essentially what I think the veil is. The veil is there's just so many videos, there's just so much content, there's just so many hours. It's just hard to figure out where anything is. Like, how would you even know what video to go to if you wanted to know a certain thing that I said? Unless you remember the video by heart, you wouldn't know where to find it. It's just way too many videos. It's like if you were trying to look for something crazy, you wouldn't even know what video to go to. Like, it's way too much. It's a labyrinth. You will get lost in it. Or as I like to call it, mythos. I pretty much created a whole mythos. You will get lost in the mythos if you don't know how to guide. But for the people that have been here, you know how to guide yourself through the mythos because you were there when we were experiencing the mythos. But for the newer people, you wouldn't even know where to start. Should I watch videos from 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020? Like, where would you even start? It's like it's way too much. I don't even know if it's possible to catch up. It's like, how do you even catch up? How do you, if you ain't been here, how do you catch up? Because again, they don't know about the thousands of videos because they've been hidden, right? So if you're new here, you have no idea about these videos, but you will learn. I have no idea where you will start. But it all depends on your spirit, your soul. It's no right or wrong place, but it's all there because we didn't cover everything, and now we're just living out and manifesting everything we've been speaking about and everything we had to endure. The chaos is being ordered, more refined. Um, yeah, that's what it is. I'll show y'all right now. Let's see, let me grab this. Let's see, I'll show y'all what type of time we on. All right, there we go. Wait, let me. Oh yeah, there we go. El Cristo Negro. We ain't playing about this shit. All right. All right. All right then. All right then. Just giving y'all a little peek into the altar. So, Lord of the underworld, Lord of the inferno, you know what it is. So, 93, 93, 93. Do without what should be the whole of law. Love is a law. Love